Hello, Ice and Fire nerds. This is Chris, and welcome back to another House of the Dragon video. They dropped a damn teaser trailer. Gods, Kings, Fire, Blood. That is the theme of House of the Dragon. This was unexpected, and I'm really excited about it. I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times already. Probably watch it some more, but I want to break it down for you guys and tell you what the hell is going on. House of the Dragon is coming in 2022, and to get a teaser trailer this early really hypes me up. I'm really excited for the show. After seeing this trailer, it looks phenomenal, and I'm really excited about maybe the channel getting back to what it used to be and getting the family back together. So anyway, let's jump into it and talk about it. House of the Dragon, the first teaser trailer. Before we get started, really quick, I want to remind everybody, or if you're new here, I have written a book called The Crimson Gods. It is out now for pre-order, available for pre-order. It comes out on October the 18th. So if you like medieval fantasy, epic fantasy / dark fantasy, be sure to pick up your copy of The Crimson Gods, available everywhere books are sold for pre-order. And again, it comes out October the 18th, just a couple weeks away. And the audiobook just got done today as well, so it will be out very soon. All right, so let's jump into the House of the Dragon teaser trailer without further ado. Our first scene here, we have Daemon Targaryen, the Rogue Prince, walking through either Dragonstone or possibly below the Red Keep. He's got a torch or something. And it looks like he may be going to meet somebody in secret, or he's exploring some area that he's not aware of. I thought it might have been the Dragonglass Cave that Dany and Jon were in Season 8, but I'm not 100% sure about that. You do hear footsteps, so it sounds like it's more like on a stone floor as opposed to a beach under Dragonstone or whatever. But there are going to be a lot of Easter eggs and stuff as well to the main series Game of Thrones. So we'll certainly see, but this is going to revolve heavily around Daemon and his inner workings around the Dance of the Dragons and all that stuff as well. And by the way, not just Daemon and House Targaryen, but it's going to feature a lot of other houses that had big roles during this period of time during the Dance of the Dragons. And next we have a shot of older Rhaenyra and Daemon Targaryen. I think this is going to be the main timeline. There will be at least 2 timelines or possibly flashbacks. I'm not sure how they're going to do that yet, because we do have a younger Rhaenyra Targaryen, a younger Alicent, etc. But this is the current or older Daemon and Rhaenyra on the beach at either Dragonstone or Driftmark. It's really hard to tell. You can't see any castles in the background, but Driftmark is an island just south of Dragonstone, home to House Valyrian, who we'll talk about as well, who are vassals of House Targaryen. Now, it looks like they're talking about something, or they don't look to be in a really good mood. So this could be after the death of Laena Valyrian, which we'll get into in just a little bit. Then we have a shot of Sir Otto Hightower as the Hand of the King, father of Queen Alicent Targaryen, who is the wife of Viserys I Targaryen as well. Sir Otto Hightower is kind of an asshole. I don't really dig him in the books. He is still Hand of the King when the Dance of the Dragons breaks out, but he's not doing a really good job, so Aegon II Targaryen would later send his ass back to the Hightower at Old Town. Then we have a shot here of a dragon skull, and this looks to be pretty damn big, so I believe this is Balerion the Black Dread, maybe a vigil of his or something. The time is not quite right on his death, but it could be because we're going to get some flashbacks in different timelines. But this is the dragon skull we saw in Game of Thrones below the Red Keep that Cersei and Qyburn shot the scorpion bolt through. Now, this doesn't look to be in the throne room, because at this time, all these dragon skulls should have been in the throne room, as Viserys told Daria in Game of Thrones of how his father would walk him up and down and name all the dragon skulls as they got from smaller to bigger as they approached the Iron Throne, being Balerion the Black Dread being the biggest. But perhaps they're going to change it up a little bit and have them already moved or something just to make more room in the Iron Throne, because think about the throne room that we see. It's going to be the same exact set essentially, but if you had all those dragon skulls, it might take up too much room, so maybe this is like his vigil, something below the Red Keep. Also really noteworthy here, they made the Iron Throne a bit more book-like. Not quite what we get in the books, the monstrosity that it is. But as you can see here, we have young Rhaenyra approaching the Iron Throne. I'm not sure if this is a vision again or flashback, a different timeline, whatever. Is that her on the Iron Throne? Is that her father, Viserys I? I'm not really sure. But the throne is more book-like. But you can see all the blades of Aegon's enemies around the Iron Throne now as it leads up the steps. They're all melted as they should be, so they made an Iron Throne look a little more book-like, but I'm not sure how they're going to explain, if they do at all, how it got to the current version we saw in Game of Thrones, which is obviously later in history, since this is about 160 to 200 years before Game of Thrones. But I do think it looks really cool. I think it matches kind of the lore and history a little bit better, the actual source material, where this was made by Balerion the Black Dread melting down the blades of Aegon's enemies. Speaking of Aegon's enemies, we now have a shot of Viserys I here holding the Valyrian ancestral sword, one of the 2 of House Targaryen, the sword called Blackfire. Now this is definitely Blackfire here, their version of it. We also see Dark Sister later that I'll talk about in just a few minutes, because you can see on the handle there the two little dragon heads coming off, and it's always been depicted like that, kind of a thicker hilt as well, and the little wings of the dragon right there as well. So this is held by King Viserys I, Alicent's husband, Rhaenyra's father, all that stuff, who will eventually die, and that's when the Dance of the Dragon starts to take place. And next we see one of a couple shots we see of a tournament, and this could take place at possibly Horn Hill, because in another shot here we do see all the banners of House Tarly, but you see quite a few different banners in these shots. And just take a look at this shot here. This is going to be Daemon Targaryen fighting somebody here. And look at this damn armor. This is what the armor actually looked like in the books, with the winged helmets and all that kind of stuff. It really looks good. This is what Rhaegar would have looked like on the Trident before getting his ass handed to him by Robert Baratheon. But as you can see here, this is Daemon Targaryen, and he's wielding the sword Dark Sister. Now, we heard about Dark Sister so many times. We heard it especially from Arya Stark talking to Tywin Lannister in the main show. And I did a video years and years ago where I thought that Dark Sister would be in the cave with Bloodraven, because he would later have that as well, because that was the last time it was seen. And I do think it should still be there. But either way, they chose not to go that route in Game of Thrones, if that's the case. Dark Sister and Blackfire in the same damn show. Finally, we get to see some of these swords and some of this lore and items we all talked about during Game of Thrones. And next we see the man, the myth, the legend, the sea snake, Corlys Velaryon himself, and his family as well. He is a badass, and at this time in history, he was more powerful, House Velaryon that is, than House Lannister, because of all the riches he obtained by traveling the damn world. He's been to Essos many, many times. He's been to Asshai. He's been to all these mystical places and gathered all these riches, and as a vassal of House Targaryen, having their back, he has made them, along with their dragons obviously, the most powerful house in Westeros. And remember, House Velaryon are Valyrians as well, so they are dragon riders themselves. We see another shot of him walking in with his family to some kind of feast here. This could be their 5th anniversary feast, and I'm talking about Viserys I and Queen Alicent Hightower. But you see here the Valyrians walking into this feast looking all regal. You have the sea snake himself, Corlys Velaryon, his wife Rhaenys Targaryen, known as the Queen That Never Was, because she got screwed out of the throne as well. Corlys Velaryon, by the way, has been through this a few times. But then you also see his son Laenor and his daughter Laena, who would later die. Now, Laena was the first wife of Daemon Targaryen, but again, she would later die. And I think that may be where you see Daemon and Rhaenyra on the beach there, and possibly a Driftmark during her funeral. So this event where Laena Velaryon dies kind of leads to a lot of stuff, because it leads to Daemon later hooking up with Rhaenyra Targaryen, his sister. So it kind of has this domino effect or whatever of leading to the Dance of the Dragons. And by the way, as I mentioned, House Velaryon are Valyrians themselves as far as Valyrian blood. So most everyone in the shot is a dragon rider themselves. And by the way, I just did a video on all the dragons of House Targaryen and Valyrian as well, so I'll leave that video as well as the other House of the Dragon playlist video links in the description below. And remember, all the dragons we'll see in this show, all 17 I believe, but there are a lot more than that as well, are all named after old Valyrian gods. And then we see a shot of Mysaria, otherwise known as Lady Misery or the White Worm. Now she is from Lys, and she's also a damn witch and a consort to Daemon Targaryen. Think of her as a Varys type character, kind of a whisperer, so to speak, to Daemon Targaryen, as well as a magical witch like Melisandre. So she'll have a pretty big role in advising Daemon Targaryen, who has a very integral role in this whole damn story. Then next we see a shot of Queen Alicent running with a very familiar Valyrian-style dagger, otherwise known as the Cat's Paw. I think it's really interesting here. They're going to tie this together. This, of course, ends up being, as we saw in Season 8, the dagger that kills the Night King. So it's going to be interesting to see where this dagger has been, what it's been through, and probably a little Easter egg here and there is pointing to what it's going to end up doing later on in the World of Ice and Fire as far as how they ended Game of Thrones Season 8, which I know most of us didn't agree with, but either way, this is what they got to do. They got to go with it. But either way, it's pretty cool to have these little Easter eggs. Now, this scene could be the Green's Council. This would be right after Viserys Targaryen I died, and Queen Alicent assembled this Green Council, so to speak, since during the Dance of the Dragons, they're known as the Blacks and the Greens. And this is where she conspires to seat her son, Aegon, on the throne, as opposed to the heir being Rhaenyra Targaryen, who King Viserys I had named as his heir, despite later having sons with Queen Alicent. Now, I can't be 100% sure about this because I don't see Sir Criston Cole, who at this point will be Lord Commander of the Kingsguard in this council, or at least in this shot anyway. And he's the bastard who became Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and ended up turning and supporting the Greens. And speaking of all these characters, I do have a playlist of characters we're going to see in House of the Dragon. I'll leave those links in the description below. And next we have another tournament shot here, perhaps the same tourney, I'm not really sure, but it could be because the walls look the same. But this looks to be possibly at Horn Hill, as I mentioned before, because we do see the House Tarly sigils all along the wall, but we see sigils of House Bolton, we certainly see a sigil of House Stark, so there will be other major houses in the show besides House Targaryen and House Valyrian. Now, as far as House Stark, at this time, the Lord of Winterfell is Cregan Stark, and he has 9 kids, so we could see a lot of Starks in this show as well. And Cregan Stark himself will play a big role, especially right after the Dance of the Dragons, because he actually becomes Hand of the King for a day, and that became known as the Hour of the Wolf. In this next shot, we see Lenore Valyrian fighting someone. This is going to be at Driftmark, I believe, just based off what's on the wall there. You have a mural on the wall back there of the sea and some ships or whatever, so I believe this will be Driftmark based off the look of it. And he is fighting someone here, and this doesn't look to be a play fight. This looks to be a real damn fight. I'm not 100% sure who this could be, but this could be his lover, Carl Corey, who is rumored per Mushroom to have actually killed Lenore from a bribe from Daemon Targaryen. But it was also kind of widely known during that time that they had been seen arguing that day during a festival, if I remember correctly, and they thought Carl killed him anyway. So I'm not sure if this is what this is. It's very possible. But then again, I'm not sure what the timeline here. I don't think this would be in season 1 where this would happen, so I'm not really sure if that's the case. But it could be. We never know how we're going to skip around with the timeline. And finally, we see a young Rhaenyra Targaryen who gives you a lot of Dany vibes here, walking towards the Iron Throne. It's hard to see if this is going to be a vision, a flashback, or her actually in the throne room herself. Maybe this is her father when he actually named her the heir, or it could be herself as some kind of vision. This is going to certainly parallel with Dany's vision during Game of Thrones of herself approaching the Iron Throne as well. So a lot of little parallels between young Rhaenyra and Daenerys Targaryen trying to fight for what's rightfully theirs. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you feel about the first teaser trailer of House of the Dragon? Now that you're seeing some actual scenes of the show, what the costumes look like, and seeing some of these familiar locations, does this make you feel a little more excited when I know a lot of people didn't really care about what was going on with House of the Dragon because they hated the ending of Game of Thrones? Anyway, if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and a share. And do me a huge favor and please subscribe to the channel so we can let the YouTube algorithm know that we're still here. I'm really excited about all this. I want to get the family back together as we did during the whole entire Game of Thrones series. And of course, we had all the post-show live streams as well, which was really fun. So I like for that to come back. So let's get the family back together as we watch House of the Dragon. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for the continued support on Patreon. And a huge shout out to my executive Patreon Smokescreen producers. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.